Let me ask you something. Have you ever seen a guy who doesn't even try, and yet women gravitate toward him like he's magnetic? He doesn't chase. He doesn't brag. And yet, there's this undeniable energy, a current in the air that pulls her into him. That's sexual tension. And it's no accident. It's a skill. A subtle dance that the most seductive men, modern-day playboys, have mastered down to a science. So if you want to learn how to create that same electricity between you and a woman without even touching her, listen closely. Because building sexual tension isn't about sex. It's about psychology, presence, and the art of leaving her wanting more. Controlled eye contact is one of the most underrated yet powerful tools a man can use to build seductive tension with a woman. It's not about staring her down like a creep or avoiding her gaze like a nervous boy. It's about mastering that delicate balance, where your eyes communicate a sense of grounded presence, quiet confidence, and restrained desire. It's the language of dominance without words, and when used correctly, it can make her heart race without you even touching her. When a man holds eye contact just a second longer than what's socially expected, it creates a disruption in the normal flow of interaction. Most people break eye contact quickly because it feels vulnerable. But a man who doesn't flinch, who lets that silence breathe for a heartbeat longer, signals something deeper. He's not afraid to be seen. He's not performing. He's simply present, grounded in himself, and not in a hurry to escape the moment. That kind of unshakable presence is rare, and women feel it immediately. You see, when your eye contact is steady but relaxed, it sends her subconscious mind a very clear message: I see you. I'm not chasing you. But I'm not intimidated by you either. It builds an emotional suspension. Like a string pulled tight between the two of you, and that tension becomes seductively charged when it's held with composure. It says you're in control of your emotions, your body language, and the pace of the interaction. You're not trying to impress. You're simply letting the moment unfold, and she starts wondering what's going to happen next. The key here is subtlety. It's not a death stare. It's not a challenge. It's an invitation. Your eyes are open, warm, and just slightly suggestive. Not with a cartoonish wink or sleazy smile, but with an inner calm that says, I know who I am. I know what I want. And I'm not in a rush to take it. That aura is irresistible to many women because it's rare to find in a world full of men either too passive or too aggressive. The timing of the eye contact also matters. Holding it during a moment of shared laughter. Holding it as she finishes a sentence. Holding it while she's mid-sentence and watching how she begins to fidget, stumble on words, or look away. Those are the subtle signals that tell you the tension is working. She's feeling something she can't explain. Her brain is working overtime to figure you out. And that uncertainty? That's where attraction is born. Even more powerful is what happens after the eye contact. When you look away slowly, on your own terms, not because you're uncomfortable, but because you chose to, it reinforces that you're the one in control. You gave her a glimpse of your attention, then took it away. That creates a vacuum. A space. And in that space, her mind starts playing with the possibilities of what else you're capable of. That's the kind of psychological spark that builds into full-blown desire. A man's voice is one of his most powerful tools in building seductive tension, and most don't even realize it. The difference between a voice that rises and a voice that drops is subtle. But the impact it has on a woman is profound. A voice that drops communicates certainty. It communicates presence, masculinity, and calm dominance. And in a world filled with anxious energy and nervous talkers, that kind of vocal gravity stands out like a magnet. When a man speaks with a tone that drops at the end of his sentences, he signals confidence without saying it directly. His voice doesn't rise with uncertainty, like he's seeking approval or waiting to be validated. He's not asking with his words, he's stating. There's a quiet authority in that. A steadiness that tells her, I know who I am. I don't need to impress you, but I'm also not going to hide my interest. That creates a subtle tension, a current running beneath the surface of the conversation, where she can feel the strength without it being forced. A deeper, slower, more controlled voice affects more than just her ears. It affects her body. Physiologically, it taps into her primal instincts. It's soothing and grounding, but also thrilling. It lowers her defenses because it doesn't trigger stress or anxiety, it creates a container. A safe space, paradoxically, where danger could happen, but only if she chooses it. That's the kind of energy that excites a woman on a deep, subconscious level. It's not about trying to sound sexy. It's about speaking from a place of internal stability. When a man does that, his voice becomes a weapon, calm, calculated, and deeply arousing. What matters most is how that voice is used in different situations. During conversation, a man who slows his words and lets silence hang between his sentences creates suspense. He's not in a rush to fill the space. He lets her lean into it. And the contrast between his stillness and the rest of the world's chaos becomes addictive. It makes her want to hear more, not because of the content, but because of the delivery. It's not what he says, it's how he says it. Even more powerful is when this voice is used in close proximity. In a quieter moment, a man leaning in slightly, lowering his voice just a little, not to be mysterious, but to create intimacy, can send chills down a woman's spine. It's a reminder that tension isn't always loud or bold. Sometimes, it's in the softness, the restraint, the control. And when his voice drops intentionally, not out of fear but out of confidence, it signals one thing very clearly: this man knows how to lead. In that moment, he's not just a guy talking. He's a presence. His words carry weight, his silence carries meaning, and his voice becomes the rhythm that pulls her deeper into the tension, where curiosity transforms into desire. Effortlessly, teasing, when done with precision, is one of the most powerful tools in creating SE*UAL tension. It's not about being mean or immature, it's about sparking playful friction that invites her into a dynamic where both people are engaged, intrigued, and slightly off balance in the best possible way. The difference between effective teasing and immature behavior lies entirely in the intention and the delivery. A man who knows how to tease with precision isn't trying to insult her or seek validation. He's subtly challenging her, playfully poking at her confidence, while still making her feel seen, respected, and safe. This kind of teasing creates a dance. It's a push and pull. It throws her off just enough to make her laugh, blush, or fire back with a witty remark. That back-and-forth rhythm builds an emotional tempo. It creates contrast, tension, and a sense that something deeper is happening beneath the words. It lets her know that he's not going to put her on a pedestal, but he also knows how to make her feel special, because he's paying close attention. And that's the real secret. Precision teasing only works when a man is truly present. When he observes her mannerisms, her confidence, her quirks, and then highlights them in a playful way. For example, if she's clearly used to being the center of attention, the man who lightly calls it out, "So how long have you been this dangerously charming?" isn't insulting her. He's inviting her to laugh at her own power. He's not intimidated by it. In fact, he's meeting her energy and redirecting it in a way that says, "I see you, but I'm not hypnotized." That kind of playful defiance is attractive. It hints that he's not the average guy who's immediately smitten or desperate for approval. It subtly suggests he's been here before, and that comfort with feminine energy makes him feel exciting and safe at the same time. What makes teasing magnetic is that it brings lightness into the moment. It allows her to let her guard down without getting too serious. But again, it only works when it's grounded in respect. There's a fine line between charming and childish. Immature teasing comes from insecurity, it's loud, try hard, and often cruel. Precise teasing comes from grounded confidence. It's subtle, often just a smirk, a raised eyebrow, or a well-timed comment that makes her laugh and wonder what's coming next. When done right, teasing becomes foreplay for the mind. It builds anticipation. It keeps her engaged. It creates a scenario where she feels both challenged and desired. And that combination is electric. Because women don't fall for the man who worships them from a distance, they fall for the man who meets them with wit, presence, and just enough challenge to make the chase feel mutual. Teasing with precision does exactly that. It doesn't cross the line. It dances on it. And in that dance, SE*UAL tension grows naturally, effortlessly, and irresistibly. Touch is one of the most powerful tools in building SE*UAL tension, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. Most men either overdo it, coming off as too aggressive or desperate, or avoid it entirely out of fear of making a mistake. But the Playboy understands something different. The most electrifying touch is the one that's subtle, intentional, and withdrawn just as quickly as it arrived. It's not about being physical constantly. It's about creating a contrast, a brief spark that lingers in her body and mind long after the moment has passed. Subtle touch works because it bypasses her logical brain and speaks directly to her nervous system. It's primal. It's instinctual. And when done with confidence and awareness, it builds suspense. The key is not the touch itself, it's what happens immediately after. You touch, then you pull away. You offer a glimpse of closeness, then return to neutral. That shift creates mystery. It makes her wonder, was that on purpose? Does he even realize the effect he's having on me? Think about it, guiding her gently through a door with your hand on her lower back. Letting your fingers brush her arm when she makes a joke. Sitting close enough that your knees barely graze under the table, then leaning back just as she starts to notice. These touches aren't accidental, but they're not aggressive either. They feel natural. They feel earned. And they carry a silent message, I'm aware of you. I'm not afraid to show it. But I don't need to take more than that. The withdrawal is what amplifies the effect. Most men, once they feel a moment of physical connection, cling to it. They keep touching, keep leaning in, trying to hold on to that moment of intimacy. But that ruins the tension. It tells her you're chasing it, not creating it. The man who touches and then pulls away shows restraint. He shows control. And in doing so, he leaves her body wanting that contact again. That desire builds slowly, and it's far more powerful than anything you could force. There's also an unspoken dominance in this approach. When you touch her with calm, grounded energy, not seeking permission or testing her response, but then pull away with total ease, you show her something rare. You're not touch-deprived. You're not thirsty. You're deliberate. You know what you're doing. And that level of emotional composure and physical confidence makes a woman feel simultaneously disarmed and intrigued. It creates a rhythm where she starts leaning in, craving more of that energy, wondering what it would feel like if you didn't pull away next time. This game of subtle touch and strategic withdrawal sets the stage for real SE*UAL tension to bloom. It's not about trying to escalate constantly, it's about letting each moment breathe, trusting the slow burn, and making every touch feel intentional rather than impulsive. When she feels your awareness, your patience, and your poise, that's when the anticipation becomes nearly unbearable. And that's where true attraction thrives. Non-reactive confidence is one of the most attractive and tension-building traits a man can possess. It doesn't shout. It doesn't try to prove anything. It simply is. It's the kind of energy that says, I don't need you to like me for me to feel good about myself. And that, paradoxically, is exactly what draws women in. Because most people, especially men trying to impress women, are reactive. They respond too quickly. They over-explain, overthink, or try too hard to control the outcome. The Playboy, on the other hand, knows the power of calm detachment. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't chase. He observes, responds slowly, and lets tension build naturally. When a man is non-reactive, he becomes a mystery. He doesn't give away his emotional state easily, and that unpredictability keeps a woman guessing. She throws out a test, maybe a sarcastic comment or a subtle challenge, and instead of getting defensive or trying to prove his worth, he smiles. Or says nothing. Or gives a playful, unbothered reply. That moment right there is crucial. It's the space where she realizes he's not like other men. He's not easily shaken, and more importantly, he doesn't need her approval to validate his presence. That's what creates intrigue and tension. This kind of confidence is especially magnetic because it puts him in control of the pace. He's not reacting to her highs and lows. He's not trying to match her energy or fix her moods. He's the stable one. The eye of the storm. And when a woman feels that, she starts to relax. She starts to lean in, wondering what it would take to make him react. That curiosity, that slight emotional imbalance, is where desire begins to grow. It's the friction between her emotional movement and his emotional stillness that creates heat. Non-reactive confidence also communicates power in the subtlest ways. It shows that a man trusts himself. That he's already chosen who he is and doesn't feel the need to apologize for it. Whether he's talking to her, being teased by friends, or navigating social situations, he stays rooted. He doesn't chase laughs. He doesn't overcompensate. And when a woman sees that, she feels something shift. She knows she's dealing with someone who cannot be manipulated. Someone who cannot be pulled out of his frame. This is especially powerful in moments of disagreement or silence. Where most men scramble to fill the gap or smooth over discomfort, the man with non-reactive confidence sits in it. He lets the tension stretch, not out of cruelty, but out of comfort with who he is. And in that stillness, women often feel a rising urge to re-engage, to impress him, to earn back his attention. That reversal of roles is subtle but profound. It makes her feel the weight of his attention, because it's not freely given. It must be earned. And that sense of challenge, of being drawn toward a man who's immune to the usual games, creates a magnetic, almost addictive tension that few women can resist. One of the most subtle yet potent tools in building SE*UAL tension is the ability to leave gaps, moments of space, mystery, or silence, that invite her to come closer. Most men try too hard to impress, to fill every second of interaction with effort, compliments, or constant attention. But the playboy understands that attraction isn't just built through action, it's built through absence. By not always being available, not revealing everything, and not constantly pushing for progress, he creates a void. And that void pulls her in. Leaving gaps doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. It means knowing the exact moment to pause, to step back, to hold something back. In conversation, it can look like answering her question, then letting the silence hang instead of continuing to talk. It can be about not immediately texting back, even when you want to. It can be choosing not to follow up right after a great interaction, giving her room to reflect, miss you, and initiate. These gaps give her space to think, to feel, to wonder what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and when she'll hear from you again. That kind of uncertainty is electric when handled with finesse. The psychology behind this is powerful. When you're always present, always giving, you remove the challenge. You remove the question. But when you pull back just slightly, not enough to push her away, but just enough to shift the energy, she starts investing. She starts wondering. And that investment builds emotional tension. She begins to chase, even if just subtly. She leans in during conversation. She texts first. She tries to keep your attention. And when a woman starts doing that, it deepens her attraction, because now she's choosing you, not just passively receiving your interest. A key part of this dynamic is timing. The gaps need to feel organic, not manipulative. If you're obviously playing games or withholding to trigger her, it backfires. But if you're genuinely grounded in your own life, your own mission, and not overly dependent on her response, the gaps happen naturally. You're not always available because you're actually busy. You're not always sharing everything because you value mystery. You're not constantly validating her because you trust the connection to build at its own pace. Leaving gaps also allows her to feel like she's earning something. That your time, your energy, your affection, those are not things she can just assume. She has to step into the space. And in doing so, she becomes emotionally invested. That tension, the not knowing, the wondering, the slow unfolding, is what keeps her coming back. It's what makes each interaction feel charged with energy, even if nothing explicit is said or done. In a world where most men are overeager to impress, the man who can hold back, who can walk away from the spotlight and let her come forward, becomes magnetic. He becomes the mystery she wants to solve. And in that mystery, SE*UAL tension grows, quietly, powerfully, and effortlessly. So understand this, building SE*UAL tension isn't about being flashy, loud, or over the top. It's about subtlety. It's about control. It's about mastering the unspoken. The true playboy doesn't chase, doesn't beg, and doesn't try to impress. He invites. He sets the stage, creates the spark, and lets her curiosity do the rest. Every look that lingers, every word that teases, every moment of silence, every confident step back, it all adds to the slow burn that pulls her in without force. He doesn't rely on luck or lines. He relies on presence. On awareness. On knowing that the space he creates is often more powerful than the words he says. Because in the end, SE*UAL tension is an art form. And the men who master it don't do so by chasing women. They do it by mastering themselves. Be that man. The one who doesn't need to force attraction, because he knows how to create it without ever saying a word.